Hello.
I thought you were gonna say something. It's always something. Hey guys, it's your two politics again.
Hi guys.
And today we're going to talk about the vaccine, not COVID itself, but the vaccine and the hesitancy around it. And just what's going on right now with the states implementing the federal government and some states implementing potential regulations surrounding it. So what do you think, Cindy? What's going on with your state? Because I think your state is one of them that's trying to introduce legislation or some type of restriction with it, right?
They've been trying to, New York City, we have de Blasio. He is saying that he's trying to push private industry to make it so you have to. Okay. And then for the city itself, you have to be vaccinated or you have to get tested like every week or whatever. So he's really pushing it. And then Governor Cuomo is, of course, on the same trip. You got to get vaccinated, federal and, state employees, you got to get vaccinated or you must be tested. But they're trying to push private companies because private companies can do more than federal companies. I mean, state companies can. Private companies can do more.
Wow. And so they're trying to get the private companies to follow suit of the government and the state and city governments. And it's so funny that yesterday Biden had made his announcement and then he started talking about the federal workers, including the military, which
they don't want to get it.
They're trying to mandate vaccines because, when you join the military, you have to have certain vaccinations. And even after you join, you get certain shots while you're in there in boot camp, all of that other stuff. You get certain vaccines. So they're trying to mandate that. They're saying that may potentially be updated as one of the shots that you need to join the military. Because think about this. Close quarters. And with the federal government, we received a note, I think it was yesterday after his speech, last night after his speech, we received an email indicating that if you're not vaccinated, you're going to be required to wear masks. And they're trying to give you incentives to go ahead and get vaccinated.
He had given $100. I think he was saying, Biden was saying, pushing people to give $100 to people that got back, to people that so they can get vaccinated. I think it's just, with the military, I think were the ones that had the most hesitancy because it still is, let's be honest, it still is an executive order for this vaccine. It's not FDA approved, but people are confused about even what that means. So I see a lot of videos and a lot of people commenting, I'm not taking that. It's not even FDA approved and blah, blah, blah. So it's like, they seem like maybe some scientists went and made it and just put it in the market. That's what they think it means.
Take this, but it's been studied. It's been
all the procedures. It was just faster.
Yes, and you know how slow the government works. It works at a snail's pace. So the actual approval, the full scale approval, where everybody has to sign off on it, everybody has to review what the review said. That takes a long time.
Yes,
it really does.
So, it takes a long time, but you know what it showed me? It showed me that when we are desperate, we can do it. We can really move things faster. It really demonstrated because there's not, according to all of, because I have a friend that has a PhD in science. So I called her. I have doctor friends and I just went looking around because I took a few months to take it and I was very scared. And I'm not a person gonna be pumping something up in my body. I don't even want no doctor basically looking at me. So I went and did all the research and I'm like, so what does this really mean? Warp speed. What does it really mean? Executive order, emergency order. It just really means that in times of war and in times of trouble, the government has the right or the authority to skip or move along steps faster. It doesn't mean that it didn't do this. It did the clinical studies. It did the first round, the second round. It just did it fast.
So, and to redirect resources too, like they were saying with certain plants, they can redirect resources to make masks and to
you're only doing this.
Right. So that, it's not that it's not approved as in the medical sense of it. It's not approved in the administrative sense of it. That's what they
I think if people don't address that with people, although even if you address that with them, they're still not going to believe it. But I think if you address that,
it really wasn't approved.
yeah, they don't understand what the FDA, in other words, the FDA will probably eventually approve it. They're just taking their longer steps. And also, from what I understand, COVID is not a new disease. So people think it's new. COVID-19 is a new disease, but it's not new. COVID is in the cold family.
Yeah.
So they already had certain medications for it. So all they had to do was pretty much use the knowledge that they had to just, we've had so many vaccines at this point that it's probably easier to make vaccines than it originally was.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that people really don't understand about the vaccine.
Yeah. And one of the things when you were saying about the military and the federal government, you don't have to get the vaccine if you don't want to, but also you don't have to be employed if the government or the agency decides not to. And it says on Department of Health and Human Services website that as a member of the military, you'll get vaccines when you enter basic training and before you deploy to protect you from serious diseases. So even if you're in the military, you've already gotten those shots in the butt, those what they used to call the peanut butter shot. You've already gotten some of those shots already. So to have an extra shot up in you is like,
I mean, you know something about that that's funny is that just imagine COVID is like a bomb, right? So you don't know who has the bomb. It's a grenade. It's on the ground. You don't know where it is. It's a landmine. You don't know where it is, right? So you're coming into my office space. We're all potentially a bomb because once it's spread, it's a wrap. Like once it goes 1-to-1 and 1-to-1 and 1-to-1, because I remember our first case here.
1-to-2 or made it
1-to-2, right? That's the R0 number. That's the spread number, how fast it spread. And I remember our first couple of cases, and it was the lawyer guy who had gotten it. He tried to get tested, and at that time, remember, they weren't testing people. And he just was like, okay, I'm sick then. He went back home. He got sicker and sicker. His neighbor took him to the hospital, and the neighbor got it. The kids got it. This one got it, that one. And he went to his synagogue. He was a teacher. All these things happened, and he wound up infecting like 30 people or whatever it was. It was a lot of people. So just consider yourself being a bomb in somebody's office. So when you want to talk about, you can't tell me what to do, I can't tell you what to do, but I could tell you that you're not going to come and explode your bomb in my office.
Right. And that's pretty much it. So you have to think of human safety, the public safety versus you having a job. And there's a lot of people that will employ you that don't believe in the vaccines or that don't care if you have a vaccine. But in this specific situation, you can't work here or you are not allowed to operate without a mask if you can't show that you've been vaccinated. And it's weird because I know I was looking at the numbers. It's 163,000 people who have been fully vaccinated. It's about 330,000 people in the country. I don't know if that includes kids, but
330,000 people?
330,000. 330.
I'm like, what? We got that in New York.
163 million people. I'm sorry, 160 million people who have gotten their vaccine in America.
Like, wait, we got that in New York.
Thanks for correcting me. 330 million people in the United States, and so it's about half of the population that's been vaccinated, and the other half have that hesitancy, and they have that those reasons for not being vaccinated. And I'm just curious because the one started a lot of the hesitancy. I think it still would have been a lot of hesitancy for the vaccine, even if he didn't start it, but it's called the Trump vaccine. He wanted it to be named after him. He started production of the vaccine. So he got the vaccine. And I feel like the people that are following him should understand that, it's his vaccine. Let's just call it like that. Like they said,
it's his virus.
It's the Trump vaccine, so take it. You drink the Kool-Aid.
You drank half of the Kool-Aid. You got to drink the other half. This is the part that's confusing to me. This is a guy you follow. And this is a guy you love, adore. You went to rallies. You got yourself infected, possibly he got himself infected. If we believe it, he got infected. You did all of that, and then you get to the vaccine point. he is probably, and he's a New Yorker, so I can say this with all confidence because I knew him in the 80s when nobody else knew him. When I lived out in the area, he owned his properties. He's probably one of the most selfish people that you know. You really think he's going to take something that would kill himself?
Yep.
You know,
and
like
even if it would kill him, guess what? Whatever it was after having the disease, whatever it was after having it, he still decided, I'm going to get vaccinated to not get it.
Because he knows it's true. He knew the virus was real. And
Yep.
he knows the vaccine is true. So he knows more information than he was giving out.
Exactly.
So you have, that's why I said those people, you don't, it's okay if you support him. If you want to go ahead and do that and go down that road, go ahead. But don't be a dummy. Like, don't be don't be a dummy. Look it up, see what it's about. And by the way, everything's not about him. How about that? These are scientists with degrees.
Yeah, make your decision based on your medical professional advice.
Right.
But there's a lot of medical professionals that are against the vaccine as well. So that's a whole other issue. But one of the sad things about here in Florida, aside from the fact that our cases have increased exponentially, is the fact that they're reopening COVID units and hospitals down here. And after we made so much progress and you saw the numbers drop, and it's like, oh yes, party. Now it's like we're reversing and going.
What the CDC did, which is, when I saw it, I just sighed really, really hard. So hard, you probably heard me in Florida.
Like,
it was like, I was like, no. Let me tell you, when the vaccine when people started really getting vaccinated, when the lines was long and all of that good stuff, and when our numbers was like 0.5% infection rate, they were like, you don't have to wear a mask anymore indoors and this. And I was like, that is a bad way to go. Like, keep it until we really get people vaccinated. Like, why did they remove the mask mandate? And then they're going to leave it up to you. Okay, if you've been vaccinated, you don't have to wear. People didn't want to wear masks in the first place.
Yeah. So, and then I'm not going to, who's checking? If I say I'm not vaccinated or I'm vaccinated, who's checking? So
there's no proof.
A bunch of people just not wearing masks, basically. And I think that was the wrong decision. And it's like one of those things where this is a new thing. The pandemic doesn't happen every day or every year. So it's kind of like we're wading through what works and what doesn't work. And I guess that's why they are reimposing the mask mandate. And I think that's a good idea. I feel like
I beg to differ with you on one thing.
Uh-oh.
I know. Uh-oh. No, we're not going to argue. We're in love. We're not going to argue. Tiff. Hey, Tiff. It is a new disease, but we've been doing this like 2 years now. You really had to know when you said no mask, that was gonna spiral out of control because you knew people were not vaccinated. You know the numbers. Like, you have one piece of information. Everybody's not vaccinated. And you know the states where they're not vaccinated. Absolutely not. And you know the states that are going to go right out and get vaccinated. You have like the data. It's a political map. That's why we say everything is politics. It is a political map in this country. You can look at the map and say where the vaccines are going to be, where the non-vaccinators are. You could see where things are going to be. And even in New York, you'll see the pockets of where people are going to be anti-vax. You know, because each state has a certain right-wing area, left wing, whatever you want to use them terms. Every state has that. So you can kind of guess where this was going to go. You know, people are going to lie and say they're vaccinated. You know they are. Or say, I don't care. I'm not wearing a mask anymore.
Which is crazy. It's like, and I was looking at the vaccines and a special that I forgot, Chris Hayes was talking about it on MSNBC, and he was saying this issue had taken place with the seatbelt, with the seatbelt in the 70s, I believe, and then also with the non-smoking in office buildings.
That was a big one.
With the vaccine. So there's been pushback from, just because they're trying to protect your health and your public safety with the seatbelts. They can't tell me what to do. It's my private right, or my right as a citizen, to not wear a seatbelt and not die or
Right.
die if I want to. But now
Right.
we get in the car and we don't think twice about putting a seatbelt on
Nope.
because it's
You
what
fall in line. Yeah, you
yeah.
fall in
And I
line.
know it's not the same as sticking something in your body and in your but we do get vaccinated against chickenpox,
Right.
mumps, rubella, all of those things, and you don't
Even
see those
schools.
things.
To
Yeah,
get in school, you can't. To get in college, you got to show your vaccine record.
or show that you have some type of
Antibody or whatever.
right? Where no, an issue where you cannot get vaccinated with
Right. Right.
medical, but that's few and far between. And we don't want these diseases to be eradicated and put back in, like the measles has been outbreaking in different places. And it's like, why do we need that when we have something to prevent it? I know Joe Biden or the administration has sent 2 million doses over to Africa, to Nigeria. And I know they're so happy.
They're probably gone. Those doses are gone. They use them so fast.
Only 1% of the population there that had gotten vaccinated. Can you imagine who those lucky lottery winners would be?
It was the government people, probably. It was the government and their families.
Yeah, probably. But just think, we're sending vaccines away when we still have.
Yeah, same thing in India. Same thing happened in India. They were sending vaccines to India. What's going to happen? Potentially, what's going to happen here is going to be a mad scramble at the last minute when people really start realizing, because I think anti-vaxxers.
Yeah,
it's not a new idea. Like people have been anti-vax. I was at one point, I was vaccine hesitant about when my kids were young and they were trying to link vaccines to autism and other ailments for kids. So I had delayed on getting certain vaccines for my kids. So anti-vaxxing is not a new idea, and people saying I'm against it, but it's going to be a mad rush. It's going to be a mad rush, and we don't even know.
Everybody decides. You're saying
they see that this is not going anywhere. First of all, it's not going anywhere. Second of all, it's going to be different variants of it. It's going to always pocket around. You're not going to be able to travel. The schools are going to be open and they're going to force you to come in, and they're probably going to force you to get vaccinated. Private industry is going to force you. The doors are going to close on what you can and can't do in terms of travel and all that stuff. So it is going to close the door on it. And what I feel bad about is that I know a person personally who had a transplant. You no longer have the antibodies once you get a transplant. So in your system, because when you get a transplant, you got to take immune suppressant drugs. So now you are exposed in this world to the virus.
Wow.
And you can't do anything about it.
And I was going to say, what do you do about that? Like, that's kind of scary. You got to stay away from people, because people are going, they're maskless and just don't care anymore. They let the barn out. They
should not have taken that mandate off. They should not have.
Because now it's like, it's hard. You got to round everybody up and put them back.
You let the kids go out and play. And it's even in the Senate. I think they attacked Nancy Pelosi or something in the Senate, because now they don't, you got that anti-vax, anti-mask group in there. And so now you're going to try to have to pull the reins back to tell people. When I saw that, I said, oh my God, they should not have announced no mask.
Crazy. They shouldn't have. And so hopefully these states, including my state, hopefully they reimpose a lot of mask mandates. I know we're going to Vegas next week and they've reimposed their mask mandate. I'm actually happy about that, because I feel like there's so many people flocking there. And I probably wouldn't go if we didn't already commit and make the trip, or commit to going on a trip. But it's like, there's so many people flocking there, and there's so many people that are not vaccinated and that are not wearing masks. I feel like we're just going into a cesspool, and I'm just happy that they reinstated it for the indoor areas. So
I don't know if you know, Tiff, do you know the effective rate of the mask? Like, let's say you have a mask on, but everybody around you doesn't have a mask.
I don't know. And I don't think
everybody has a mask.
I don't know, but I know it obviously works against
it works. It works.
Certain illnesses, because if you notice the statistics for last year's flu,
the flu
so low, because everybody was wearing masks and everybody was covered. So it's like you're not transmitting diseases to each other. So I'm guessing it works. Plus, when you look at the healthcare industry, they all wear masks when they're operating or treating you.
But that's what I'm wondering. Okay, so everybody has on a mask. I could see it working. But let's say you're the only one in a mask and you're in a room with 100 people and you're the only one with a mask. Is there a way? This is just me wondering. I always think about it. Is there a way it could get to me even though I do have on a mask?
I mean, I guess anything is possible. Anything is possible. And the fact of the matter is you at least are trying to have a barrier between you, your mouth, your nose, and in the germs. At least it's got to fight its way into
It's got to, because I can't imagine a scenario where I don't have on a mask in the future.
Yeah.
Because I'm a germaphobe in general. But, and I was the one wiping down the seats whenever we go, spraying down the hotel room. I was cleaning it like I was a worker. Like I used to be spraying, cleaning, and this is before the pandemic. But now I'm like, I never thought about a mask. I can't, can you see you going without a mask in the future?
Yeah, I can. I mean, because once I got vaccinated and I started going indoors, I started feeling more comfortable not wearing my mask. But if you notice, a lot of Asian people wear their masks.
They always wear masks.
Even like years ago, I remember seeing it and I'm like, why are they always wearing a mask? But it's protecting them from certain diseases.
They always wear masks. I worked in an Asian community in Queens, always wore masks. The Asian people always had on a mask.
Well, they were onto something.
They onto something. Even when you see them on the camp, you see China, they'll show China on the news or whatever. The people be having on a mask.
Man, oh man.
They got it right, honey.
So basically what we're saying with this episode is to make an informed decision when it comes to the vaccine. Look at all the statistics, look at the efficacy rates, talk to your medical professional or someone that you trust in the medical field to make that determination of whether or not you should get vaccinated, and then look at your options when it comes to employment, travel, and all of the other things that you may
school. Work, where you're going to be going in the stores. And I want to add to that, that's what you said is 100%. I want to add to that, when you're speaking to your doctor, you just tell them your fears and stuff, but I find people that they're staunch on one side or the other, and you going in with this closed mind. You got to go in with an open mind that I have these questions and I'm going to get them answered. Because that's what I did before I got it. I talked to my doctor on Zoom. I met with her. I said, this is what I'm getting ready to do. Look at my medical records. Tell me if you think there's any risk factors in there, so, but you got to go with an open mind. You can't be like, they all working with the 666, and you can't start down the conspiracy line or the anti-science line or the anti-this or anti-First Amendment, Second Amendment. You can't go down that road. So I agree with you. You do have to do the research, but with an open mind.
Yes, definitely. Wow. Well, this was good, Cindy. It was another good one. We love presenting you with facts or our opinion on the facts, I should say. And just, interesting topics. So as always, like, dislike, comment. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter.
I'm modeling it.
Twitter and Facebook, 2polychicks. And email us, 2polychicks@gmail.com.
All right. Okay. Bye, guys. Bye, guys. Wait, I got to remember this time to stop.